This audio proves that that is exactly what Rebel Wilson and her PR team were trying to do. To smear her, saying that she's the new Heidi Fleiss and that she's not actually producing films. If this all sounds very much like Baldoni and Lively, well, here's what's interesting. It's a lot of the same players. Jed Wallace, Melissa Nathan, Kate Case, Brian Friedman were all involved with Justin Baldoni.
They're right onto East Paulding Drive.
That Blake Lively is currently accusing them of a smear campaign, and that's about
in a quarter mile. Turn right onto Riverwood Drive.
Players accused of doing basically the same thing, smearing someone else. Look, we don't know what the explanation is going to be for this.
Turn right onto Riverwood Drive.
Voice note he was making. We don't know whether or not he actually sent the voice note to Melissa, Brian, and Kate, but he certainly made this. And this voice note was
in 700 feet, 136 Riverwood Drive, Dallas, Georgia 30157, USA will be on the right.
It proves there was a smear campaign that Rebel and
136 Riverwood Drive, Dallas, Georgia 30157, USA is on the right.
It was just something they talked about, but nothing was ever done. Here's where that gets a little hinky. They could say that, but Amanda knows that there was a website that was created, a whole website that was entitled Amanda Ghost is a Destroyer of Worlds. And on that website, they made this allegation where they said that Amanda is actually procuring young women for the pleasure of the extremely wealthy. Basically saying she's a sex trafficker or she's a pimp like Heidi Fleiss. You guys know who Heidi Fleiss is, right? Remember her? Heidi Fleiss, the madam, Hollywood madam back in the 90s. Look it up. They could say that they were just talking about it and didn't do it, but it certainly lines up. The things that Jed Wallace is saying on that audio line up with the things that were on this website, Amanda Ghost is a Destroyer of Worlds. It seems like a smoking gun, but as we've seen in Baldoni and Lively, you may think it's going one way, and then the next thing you know, it swings the other way. This certainly looks like really dirty pool. This is the but the reality is, and we said this when Baldoni and Lively first started, the reality is this stuff happens all the time. That's why there are crisis PR teams, and they're always sort of plotting to make their clients look really good and make whoever's opposing their client look bad. That's what happens. The question is, when does it become illegal? And if your smear campaign, if you're pulling one of those, says something that is completely false and defames someone, well, you could end up getting dragged into court. The reality is this stuff happens all the time. We know this. We've known it for years because we get calls from these people. We get calls from PR people who say, hey, did you see this? And they want you to do a story about that. It happens all the time, but sometimes people cross the line and someone gets pissed and files a lawsuit, and then you get Baldoni Lively, and now Wilson Ghost.
The House Oversight Committee is requesting an interview from a guard that was present the day Epstein died at the prison he was being held at. Now, the panel is requesting an interview from one Tova Noel, who currently doesn't work at the prison anymore. But in their request, they wrote, due to public reporting, documents released by the Department of Justice, and documents obtained by the committee believes you have the information that will assist in its investigation. Now, after the most recent release of the Epstein files, the DOJ even wrote, for substantial portions of their shifts, Noel and Michael Thomas sat at their desk, browsed the internet, and moved around the common area. To conceal their failure to perform their duties, Noel and Thomas repeatedly signed false certifications, adding to having conducted multiple counts of inmates that they did not do. Now, additionally, the investigation into one of Epstein's residences in New Mexico, Zora Ranch, has just begun only a few days ago. Take a look at this interview we did the other day with Eddie Aragon, who received a very interesting email regarding Zora Ranch.
I mean, these guys are sending long justifications for their actions back in 2019. You don't talk that much unless there's something here that is hidden or needs to be hid. That's just a fact. They should have seized that ranch. The new owner, he should have never been given the opportunity. How did that get
The new owner's son works for Trump in the White House, and the new owner is a politician.
Obviously, the Epstein story continues to evolve as the days go by, so we will keep our thumb on the pulse of this story. That's all for now.
Andrea Constand, the woman who sent Bill Cosby to prison after her testimony stating that he drugged and sexually assaulted her, took the stand again, but this time it was for a civil case for 84-year-old Cosby accuser Donna Mostinger. According to the New York Times, Donna says she was 31 years old when Bill Cosby drugged and raped raped her in 1972 after bringing her to one of his shows. Andrea and 2 other women are being called to testify because their stories pretty much align with Donna's story. Andrea described what she calls a horrific experience with Bill back in 2004 when she was the director of operations for the Temple women's basketball team. Cosby was not only her mentor, but was a big alumnus of the university. Andrea said shocked, humiliated, scared, and fearful about what happened between her and Bill. She also testified that Bill gave her 3 pills that incapacitated her before he sexually assaulted her in his Pennsylvania home. At his 2018 trial, Bill was convicted of 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault, and that was because of the drugging that he did to Andrea. He was sentenced to 3 to 10 years for that. After serving 2 years, Bill was released and won his appeal on a technicality. Basically, the judge ruled that the prosecution should have never charged Bill Cosby because the predecessors had already told Bill that he would not be charged. So the judge said, you know what? Tossing this out.
The police officer at the scene told me to never sue the driver who crashed into me after my car accident. I took his advice and got $100,000 for my accident without suing, without going to court, and without dealing with insurance directly. At first, I thought he was out of his mind. Everyone sues after accidents, right? That's just what you do. That's how you get justice. That's how you get paid. But this officer looked at me and said, you can do it that way if you want. Spend the next year and a half in court. Pay thousands up front. Hope it works out. Or I can tell you.
Excuse my language. Let's see, let's try this.
So what you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, is what the Israelis are really saying. So they tell you one thing, they tell the Western press one thing in English, but when they speak in Hebrew, they have a totally different thing what they're saying. So there's like, it's like, you know how the mafia has 2 sets of books? And there's the one you show the IRS, and then there's the real book. So that this is kind of what Israelis do, the Zionists do. They have the fake message that they give to Western media, and then they talk the real message, what they're really saying. They say, so let's go to Glenn Greenwald. He says, if you want to know what Israel is and who Israeli leaders really are, just listen to what they say in Hebrew. On Israeli media, when they don't have to pretend to soften their language to deceive the American and European sensibility, this is who we are. First of all, here we have Glenn Greenwald, the archetype of a self-hating Jew. Anyway, let's go.
Okay.
Go ahead and play it, Steph, and you read it.
All right, here we go. I believe in the value of revenge. The enemy also believes in the value of revenge. And I'm telling you, if the enemy heard this, as I told the chief of staff at the beginning of the war, I told him, I want you to avenge the blood of the murdered loved ones, of my murdered loved ones. He tells me I don't know such a value. I told him that's the problem. That's the problem. We're dealing with a cruel enemy, a murderer. With a soft Western language in a soft Western language. You won't be able to vanquish a cruel guerrilla force. We can vanquish them exactly in their own way. That's why it's not just a word. You know why? My photos are shown at Hamas demonstrations around the world. Why unphotoshopped photos of me are there? Because I say to attack them without mercy. And here I turn to the people, stop being afraid of headlines and stop being afraid to talk about revenge.
Drive northeast on Dallas-Ackworth Highway, Georgia 92 spur. Drive southwest on Dallas-Ackworth Highway, Georgia 92 spur. Then turn onto Eloise Drive. Continue for 2 miles.
Continue this road for 2 miles. Oh, you think I turned around? Sorry, everybody. Sorry, everybody.
And stop talking. Blot out the memory of Amalek. This is my moral command. This is my code of values. This is my heritage. And this is how you defeat Hamas. There's no other way. By the way, Iran believes in revenge. By the way, Hezbollah believes in revenge. By the way, Palestinian Islamic Jihad believes in revenge.
Y'all believe?
By the way, the Houthis believe in revenge. By the way, very, very specific groups with Lebanon also believe in revenge. A vengeful God, I believe that too.
A vengeful God. I mean, so these people are just like,
So
oh yeah,
y'all
so
believe
God
in
is
the God
very
of
much like
revenge.
Satan. He's very much like the worst person you know in the world. He's all about revenge. I thought the Bible preached against revenge. When maybe that's the New Testament. I don't know.
No, it's
Maybe
the Old too.
I'm not too familiar with the Old Testament. I'm with
Definitely
New
the Old Testament.
But that sounds like a weird God. My God is a vengeful God. Oh, okay. Well, your God sounds like an asshole. He sounds like why do you need God to tell you to go be vengeful? You're already vengeful. Well, so these are people just using God to justify the worst evil you could possibly think of. But now what I want you to do is play it,
Yes.
sound on, and just listen to what it sounds like. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
For 25 years, the Armed Forces Vacation Club has helped military and veteran families make memories with incredibly discounted rates on resorts, hotels, cruises, and more in worldwide destinations. Sign up is completely free. See if you qualify and start saving with the most trusted name in military travel.
אני מאמינה דרך של נקמה, גם האויב מאמין דרך של נקמה. ואני אומרת לך שאם האויב היה שומע את זה, כמו שאמרתי לרמטכ"ל בתחילת המלחמה, אמרתי לו, אני רוצה שתנקמו את דם הנרצחים שלי. אני לא מכיר ערך כזה, אמרתי לו, זאת הבעיה. זאת הבעיה, אנחנו מתייחסים לאויב אכזרי מרצח.
In a quarter mile, continue.
בשפה מערבית מלטפת, לא תצליחי להכניע גורם גרילה אכזרי. אנחנו יכולים להכניע אותו, בדיוק בדרך שלו. לכן זאת לא רק לא מילה, את יודעת למה תמונות שלי נמצאות בהפגנות חמאס בעולם? התמונות הלא מרוטשות שלי נמצאות שם, כי אני אומרת, to attack them without mercy. ופה אני פונה לעם. תפסיקו לפחד מכותרות.
Continue. Then bear right.
ותפסיקו לדבר, מחות תמחה את זכר עמלק. זה צו המצפון שלי, זה צו הערכים שלי, זאת המורשת שלי, וככה מכניעים את חמאס. לא בשום דרך אחרת. אגב, איראן...
Bear right onto East Paulding Drive. Then, in 800 feet, turn left.
מאמין בנקמה. אגב, חות'ים מאמינים בנקמה. אגב, גם קבוצות מאוד מאוד מסוימות בתוך לבנון מאמינות בנקמה. אין נקמות השם, גם אני מאמין.
Boy, that is just, wow, the dulcet tones of a Zionist
Turn
maniac.
left. Then, in 200 feet, turn left.
God is very bloodthirsty. Boy, that God in the Old Testament, real piece of shit. Am I wrong?
Oh boy.
Wow, that's something. I like how Solidus says.
Turn left.
Sounds like she was asking, what would Jesus do?
In 400 feet, 55 E Paulding Dr. Suite 118, Dallas, Georgia 30157, USA will be on the right.
That's true.
Wish I was kidding.
55 E Paulding Dr. Suite 118, Dallas, Georgia 30157, USA is on the right.
When you're not listening, when they're speaking in English, they're like, the Palestinian people are not our enemies. We are not. We care about journalists. We care about medical workers. But when there it is. That's what they. And if you go to the next slide, Sam Husseini says, yes, but Imperial Israel wants far worse than revenge. That's a cover. So what he's saying is that even that woman is still hiding their real agenda, because their real agenda is the Greater Israel Project and the complete ethnic cleansing and genocide of the Palestinians. So they're just using, just like Benjamin Netanyahu is using October 7th and the hostages as a pretext to go in and do what they've always been planning to do, which is wipe out the the Palestinians, take over Gaza, the West Bank, not Syria. By the way, they're still occupying Syria. they're occupying Israel. That's part of the greater Israel project. So I think that's what Saddam Hussein is referring to, the imperial Israel. Imperial, meaning that they're going to occupy other people's lands and steal it from them while committing genocide and slaughter. So the thing about, oh, we're just doing this for revenge. 7. The plan. So if you go to the next slide, so this is another perfect example of this. So in English, Israel calls, remember when they just bombed the hospital? We covered it yesterday. Israel bombed a hospital in South Gaza. I think probably the last hospital around in Gaza. They bombed all the other ones to flatten them. So they bombed the hospital. And then when the emergency workers came to help the people who were bombed, they bombed the emergency workers. That's called the double tap. It's one of the worst things you could do. Look how so this guy catches it. Look how it was reported in English in the West. And so if you go to the next slide, it said IDF admits mistaken attack on hospitals killing journalists. Oh, it was a mistake. But look how they report it. Look how they report it in the Jewish newspapers. Our forces operated at Nasser Hospital, which became a terrorist headquarters. In the past 24 hours, the level of fighting in the Gaza Strip has increased, and a targeted attack was carried out on the Nasser
Drive north.
Hospital
Then,
complex.
in 500 feet, turn right onto East Paulding Drive.
So, in their own newspapers, they admit that they were targeting.
Yes.
Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. They admitted that they were targeting the hospital, but when they speak to the West in English, they're like, "Oh, whoops, sorry, we didn't mean it. We're not at war with the
Drive south, then turn right."
Of course they are. They target it, especially journalists. They target journalists on purpose. And in our next segment, I'm going to show you.
Drive north.
They admitted,
Then, in 400 feet, turn right onto East Paulding Drive.
So we're going to show you that. But there you are. That was nice job of Glenn tweeting that out and making me aware of it.
Turn right onto East Paulding Drive.
So you see
Then turn left.
Right? So Zionism requires, to be a Zionist requires non-stop lying. Because if you told people what you actually thought and what you
Turn left onto Dallas Ackworth Highway, Georgia 92 spur. Drive northwest on East Paulding Drive. Then, in 200 feet, turn left onto Dallas Ackworth Highway. Turn left onto Dallas Ackworth Highway, Georgia 92 spur.
Great antidote to evil is comedy, and I'll see you this weekend doing my comedy in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. Then I'll be in Chicago. Then I'll be in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We'll be in Louisville. We'll be in Appleton, Wisconsin. We'll also be in Hermosa Beach. We'll be in Sacramento, San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Come see me on tour in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Appleton,
Continue for 4 miles.
I gotta get
Illinois,
some
Chicago,
shows.
Louisville, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
Go, Timbo.
Been told no because of your credit? Well, here at Sports and Imports Autos, we specialize turning no into yes. Sports.
Is Donald Trump the Antichrist? Now, this is not something I would normally discuss, but there's something in the news today that had me thinking about this. And if I'm going to be honest, I have thought about this in the past. In fact, the first time I really started to think about this, and I'm not even saying that I believe in any of that. I'm just saying the thought has crossed my mind. And I know people have been saying this, like, since his first term, like early on. But when I really started wondering about it was when he was running for re-election in 2024. After literally trying to overthrow the republic, after being indicted multiple times, clearly guilty, after having been found liable for sexually abusing a woman, or as the judge in that case said, what Trump did to her, digitally penetrating her by force against her will, is commonly referred to and is legally referred to in many states as rape. It's not called that in New York, where Trump was found liable, but in many places it is called rape. he was found liable for that. And all the horrible things that he has done. And when it looked like this guy might really be reelected after all of that, I started thinking about it. If this piece of shit gets reelected, maybe there is something to it. Maybe he is the Antichrist. Then he gets elected, and honestly, I didn't give it too much thought. I mean, I really just chalk it up to the fact that we are surrounded in this country by blithering fucking idiots. And that's just inarguably true. And I just chalk it up to that. But then today, I come across this story. You may have seen it. It's getting some traction out there. Here's the headline. Military leaders pushing Armageddon views on troops as Iran war begins. This is according to a complaint that has been filed. Let me read this to you. Let me read a little of this. And I'll link this story in the video description below. By the way, I don't do this very often because I simply forget to, but number one, thank you for watching and or listening, depending upon the platform. And also, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps grow the channel. Anyway, let me read this. A combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers on Monday that the Iran war was part of God's plan to usher in the end times and bring about Jesus Christ's second coming. This according to a complaint filed with a religious freedom watchdog group. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation, the MRFF, has fielded more than 110 similar complaints about commanders in every branch of the U.S. military between the war's start on Saturday morning and Monday night, reported journalist Jonathan Larson on his Substack page. And the group told him the complaints came from more than 40 different units stationed in at least 30 military installations. Unfreaking believable. And by the way, I don't know how much the mainstream media is going to talk about this. I would suspect very little, if at all. This is why you need to just go around the corporate mainstream media, which is increasingly just being bought up by Trump's billionaire buddies. They do a shit job of telling you what's going on in the world. You've got to follow and support quality independent journalists like on Substack and YouTube and other places. Just screw the mainstream media. They're part of the friggin' problem. Anyway, let me continue with this.
Drive south on Legion Road. Then, in 700 feet, turn right onto Merchants Drive.
Report the unrestricted
Turn right onto Merchants Drive, Georgia 61.
As to how this new biblically sanctioned war is clearly the undeniable sign of the expeditious approach of the fundamentalist Christian end times as
continue on Georgia 61, Georgia 6 business for a half mile.
This was said by MRFF president and founder Mikey Weinstein, a veteran of the Air Force and the Reagan White House. Many of their commanders are especially delighted with how graphic this battle will be, zeroing in on how bloody all of this must
in a quarter mile, turn right onto Confederate Avenue.
And be in 100% accordance with fundamentalist Christian end-of-the-world eschatology. Holy freaking crap. Let me read just one more passage of this.
Turn right onto Confederate Avenue, Georgia 61.
Let me see. So this is one of the reports that they got from a member of the military filing a complaint with this watchdog group. This morning, our commander...
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Polk Avenue.
By urging us to not be afraid as to what is happening with our combat operations in Iran right now. That non-commissioned officer said in a complaint filed Monday, he urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan and he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon.
Turn left onto Polk Avenue.
Return of Jesus Christ. He said that President Trump had been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire
Continue for a half mile.
to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. He had a big grin on his face when he said all of this, which made his message seem even more crazy. Holy fucking shit.
This guy cussed too much. This guy cusses too much.
I said the media is probably going to talk about this very little, if at all. This is all they should be talking about today.
I hear you.
We're fighting a fucking holy war? Is that what this is?
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Westwood Drive. Turn left onto Westwood Drive. In a quarter mile, you will arrive at 144 Westwood Drive, Dallas, Georgia 30132, USA.
Ah!
You have arrived at 144 Westwood Drive, Dallas, Georgia 30132, USA.
The cold-blooded assassination of John F. Kennedy, one of the most popular and beloved presidents in U.S. history. Join us as we explore a surprising motive you may not have heard about. Now, to some of you, such a motive may seem not only far-fetched, but virtually impossible. So let us suggest that you do one essential thing before forming your own opinion. Look at the incontrovertible evidence we are about to present.
We are not here to curse the darkness. I'm here to light a candle. I believe that the times require imagination and courage and perseverance. I'm asking each of you to be pioneers towards that new frontier. We stand today on the edge of a new frontier, the frontier of the 1960s, the frontier of unknown opportunities and perils, frontier of unfilled hopes and unfilled threats.
The 90-minute special that I produced for the CBS station in Denver, Colorado, was first broadcast on May 20th, 1980, and it got the biggest Arbitron and Nielsen rating of any program before or since in that station. And that said to me that I was just scratching the surface, that so many people tuned in, and the mail and the letters and the calls started coming in from around the world back in May of 1980. And I knew that whatever I had been able to report about the animal mutilations and the links to what law enforcement said the perpetrators were creatures from outer space, that it was just really the beginning, because I didn't understand who, what, why, and why would the government of the United States have policies of denial about something as important as something that was defined as extraterrestrial biological entities interacting with our planet and bloodlessly, without tracks, mutilating animals around the planet since at least the 1950s or the 1960s. And it was on that landscape that I became interested in a rumor that I had been told when I was producing, that the reason that John F. Kennedy was assassinated had to do with something related to extraterrestrials. And it was only about a month or two after the broadcast of my documentary, A Strange Harvest, that I got a call from Los Angeles, California. It was from an office. It was a producer who had done a very famous film back in the 70s. And the producer was calling to ask me, would I be willing to meet with him at a ranch that he had in Colorado, and he very much wanted to talk to me about mutilations. And I agreed. I got from his office an address and directions about how to get to this ranch that was north of Boulder, Colorado, up in the mountains. I remember as I was driving thinking about the whole issue of animal mutilations, UFOs, and ETs going on around us at some point on this planet all of the time, and yet governments have policies of denial. And I was wondering, who is this person from Los Angeles who is called, and I'm going to have a meeting because they want to talk to me about animal mutilations. And when I got within about a mile of the address, all of these huge forests had strong fencing going along, maybe for 5 miles. And it immediately hit me. This is no Colorado rancher. This has all the hallmarks of the federal government. And when I got to the point where I was supposed to come to a T-junction and turn left, when I turned left, what I was looking at was a security gate that you would find on any American military operation. And as I pulled up in my car, aware that the fencing kept going in all of its professional strength, and that I am approaching what looks to me like a military security guardhouse. And I remember this moment that washed over me when I was about 30 feet from commitment. Maybe you should turn the car around. I kept going, but my gut was sending off all kinds of danger signals. And when I pulled up and I saw guns galore, there was more than one security guard. They had monitors, the way that you go into a military base or a major operation, all kinds of monitors that obviously had cameras on all aspects of wherever I was headed. And the man with his gun asked for my name, asked who it was that I was supposed to be visiting. I gave them the answers. There were a lot of phone calls. And as I sat there, I knew this is a U.S. federal military operation. And the man with his gun said, back your car up. And I thought, wow, it's a signal from the universe. I'm going to back my car up and I'm going to keep going to where I turned into this place and I'm never coming back. But as I put the car into reverse, curiosity overwhelmed me. I had to know who is behind all of this military fencing. And the reason why they had me back up, I've never seen a gate like this before or since. It had to be at least 30 feet from where it latched to where it was swiveling. And when that gate started to move, it had a hum, and it just went as smooth as silk. And that's why I had to back up. And then I had to drive through knowing that this gate is now going to close behind me. And I have no idea what's coming next. But I did it. There were other men. Now all the guns disappeared and been replaced by a bunch of men who came, and they all are kind of dressed the same with the plaid wool shirts. And there's 3 or 4 who come around, and one opens my car door and says, Mr. the name that had called me will be with you in a few minutes. He has asked me to come and escort you to our cafeteria. And as we approached and I stepped in, it was the most deceptive illusion on the outside that I have ever experienced in my life. It looked like it was going to be a small building, but when you went in, it was an L, and it was huge, and it was a building that could have accommodated maybe 300 people. And the only place that I could see that I could be comfortable were rays of sun that were coming in the only window where we entered, in a far back table. And I said, would it be all right if I waited next? which I wondered.
In 1 mile, turn right.
I got up and said I wanted to leave. And 45 minutes in, with me still debating what I should do, I heard that screech on that screen door. And what walked through that door was a man about 5'5", 5'6". He was wearing mirror glasses that took up a huge part of his face. He had a hat that came down to the mirrored glasses. And as he approached and he extended his hand, Linda Moulton Howe, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I remember these thoughts went really fast. Camouflage, disguise, who do you work for? Why are you in this military installation? And he begins as if everything is innocent. He's very interested in animals.
In a half mile, turn right.
Asked me about the evidence, and finally, at some point, when I was talking about
Sparkle Terrace Square, more choices, more value.
Yeah.
Did your teenager develop depression, anxiety, or eating disorders after becoming addicted to social media platforms?
Evidence, and finally, at some point, when I was talking about how law enforcement had told me the perpetrators are
Turn right. Then 758 Villa Rica Highway B, Dallas, Georgia 30157. UA will be on the left.
Take it over. And this is what happened. Extraterrestrials are mutilating the animals, Linda. What do you think the government of the United States should do about that? What can we do about it? It's the same problem, Linda, that we had when John F. Kennedy wanted to open up the truth about extraterrestrials